Welcome to our podcast and strap in for Movie Monday. Hi, I'm Minky Madison.
And I'm Jack Green.
Today on Movie Monday is the 2020 film I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which its title alone resonates with most viewers as drowning in an ice bath would be less painful than watching this movie. It's a drama thriller, according to the writer, but I'd say it's more a drama wrist splitter, as going to the dentist is more thrilling. It's written and directed by Charlie Kaufman and starring Jessie Buckley, Jesse Plemons, and Toni Collette. It's rated R, and the synopsis is, a woman is unsure about her relationship, but decides to meet her boyfriend's parents anyway by accompanying him on a road trip to their farmhouse. What did you rate it?
Two kernels. And that's being generous.
It is being generous. I gave it one kernel, simply because despite it being so disjointed and unsatisfying, it did make me curious enough to finish it. And the dinner scene with Jake's parents, I'd actually give that scene alone a 4 kernel rating. But yeah, I gave it a 1 rather than 0 just because I felt like it had potential, but failed miserably at actually executing that. But okay, stop and watch the movie first now, or strap in for major I'm Thinking of Ending Things movie spoilers. So, did you come up with a favorite line?
I would have to go with it's colder than a witch's tit in a brass brazier. I think that's how it was. It was kind of a weird claim.
Yes.
The whole thing was weird, so it fit right one with it.
Yes, good choice.
What was yours?
So, I had 2. I have a hard time picking one for whatever reason. So, my first one was when Lucy saw the dead sheep and asked Jake what would happen to them. And he's like, they're already dead. What else can happen to them? I thought that was kind of funny. And then the second one was when Lucy said, in one of the longest car scenes in history, by the way, during that scene, she says, this 2-hour movie leaves you too groggy to do more than moan, which is how I had been feeling the whole movie. Then she went on to say, details that are meant to establish the pathological nature of the character surrounding her, and so show her isolation, become instead limp, false moments. It's unclear whether the characters are unconscious or whether it's Cassavetes who's unconscious of what he's doing. They're having a discussion here about a specific movie, but I think Charlie Kaufman, which is the director, put it in as an intentional irony, as the quote is a mirror to the movie itself. And, that's exactly what he did in the movie, in my opinion, so.
Yeah, they're definitely doing something. I'm not sure what exactly it was.
Something happened.
I did feel there was an attempt by the director to have some sort of irony or unique experience, but it was lost on me, which is a new type of pain in itself because you want to enjoy something, but you're just not smart enough, I guess.
No, I don't think it's you. I think it's, we'll get into it, but it's definitely not your intellect. So what were your cons?
Second one to the last one. No, my cons were I didn't understand where the plot was. So, I mean, I understood enough to know she's unsure about the relationship and she was meeting their parents. But anything beyond that, I don't know what was happening. Yeah, like,
that's hilarious.
There's a lot of, like, reading of lines and a lot of quoting, like poetry and literature and music. And I don't know, sometimes they were talking to no one. Like, one of the other characters was asleep in the car, and then they were talking, I guess, to themselves, but it didn't sound like that. It's all very bizarre.
It was like being at a bad book club meeting, I felt like, for most of it.
Yeah, they seemed like smart people. The characters did. They were quoting some famous literature, and I believe at one point they were quoting like some type of famous lines about how no man is actually himself. We're just an accumulation of other people's thoughts and perceptions about the world. That was interesting to me because it's kind of philosophical and
Mm-hmm.
deep, and I like that. I just didn't know that it was going to put it in the center of a film that had no direction. Which is
Right.
so yeah. I don't know. It was just all very bizarre. I did want to finish it because I thought maybe it could all come together at the end
Hmm.
and end up being a really great movie once everything was tied together. But there was no tying of any kind, unfortunately.
Yeah, I felt like he was using the profound moments of other actual books and movies and like throwing them into this crazy, ridiculous movie that doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? Like stealing the profoundness of other things.
That must
I don't
have
know.
been what he was doing.
That's what it felt like.
At one point, I thought the film ended because they were showing another film and it ran to credits. Do you know the part I'm talking about?
Is that when the janitor is watching that movie on his own
Yeah.
or
hmm
yeah.
And I thought it was the end of the movie. Like I didn't know what was going on. I think it was just my brain hoping. Like
Yeah.
I was like, it's off, but it's off way too soon. There's no way that I'm free, and
Oh.
I wasn't. But yeah, I think they saved a lot of cost on the making of this because 90% was snow in a car.
Yeah, nothing really happens. Do you have more cons?
It's just hard because the whole thing was a con. Like two kernels came from the effort because clearly a lot of effort was going into the dialogue, and there was some dancing at the end. Uh, so they really tried. It was a solid.
I love you. So funny. Two kernels for the dancing and the dialogue.
Yeah, but it's just the direction and everything that was gone. Like I don't know where it went. I just wasn't sure what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really frustrating. It's almost as if they filmed two people just talking in their car, and that would be real life. But even that would have more direction than this had. So,
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. That's a pretty good way to explain what the hell we just saw.
and the girl who worked at I don't know were they getting ice cream or
Oh,
like
yeah,
milk runs?
like a blizzard stand.
Yeah, in the snow, which is weird because I don't think normally they offer the opposite of whatever your environment is. So if it's a blizzard, they're not going to offer you ice cream.
Right.
But but
Yeah.
apparently that's what they were. Just the ample irony, add more to it. They offered ice cream during a blizzard,
Yep.
and she was acting real nuts, talking about varnishing in the back, and that's the reason for the smell. And then she had like a mini breakdown, like, and said that it wasn't from varnishing, and that she could time travel. Like I don't know something.
They did not explain that at all.
Did you see when they made it to the school? It looked like a high school to me, but to be honest, I'm
Yeah.
not sure. The trash cans next to the front entrance of the school were filled with ice cream
Blizzard.
containers,
Yeah.
blizzards.
Mm-hmm.
So, did everyone that attended the concert have a blizzard? Like, or what was going on? Like, I don't.
I don't know because they don't explain anything. That's the main issue with this movie is like you can follow along with these absurd things happening as long as there's some kind of explanation and they bring it all clear at the end, and he didn't do that. He didn't really try to, you know what I mean? Like
Oh
so
yeah.
explanation. He didn't give one.
You know what
I
I
don't,
did like though? What I thought was funny was when she goes to the school and she's looking for her partner. She meets this janitor, and he says to take off. He offers her a pair of shoes so that because he just cleaned the floor,
mm-hmm.
and she completely turned him down. I think he was trying to be nice, saying, "I just cleaned this floor. Don't walk on it with your dirty shoes." And
Yeah.
she just was like, "Screw you," like, and rejected the shoes. I don't know. It just struck me as funny because
Well,
it's really rude.
did you catch why? Because he was offering the same slippers that her boyfriend offered in the house. Do you remember?
Oh, I did not pick up on that.
Yeah, so it weirded her out. So she's just like, "Oh, I'm good." But I mean, it's just a crazy movie that doesn't
Yeah, because
really.
if someone didn't want me to destroy their property, but they ended up offering me like I don't know a article of clothing that was too similar to something in my past, like I don't think I would just reject it on that reason. Well, my
Well,
ex lover gave me that shirt. So I'm not gonna,
Well,
wear it.
I think it's because the whole night has been insane and weird, and her boyfriend's suddenly missing, and he's offering the exact same slippers that she was just offered literally an hour ago from the house that was super weird, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I could understand that a little bit, but
She might as well lit him on fire for all the, difference it would make. Like, nothing in that movie resembled any type of logic or reasoning. I mean, they had dancers come up behind them in the hallway, and like, where did these people come from? Were they lunatics that escaped, like, from a local sanitarium, or I don't know? And why were they so good at dancing? That's the real question.
where did you go to dancing school, madam and sir? That would
Yeah,
be
it was just I don't know. Can you explain that the dancing? Like they're in the hallway, and then these people step up behind them. What was that about?
well, so you know how it shows the janitor randomly throughout the movie?
Yeah,
There's
I do.
one of the parts when he's like cleaning a floor or something, you see some dancers working on a play.
Uh-huh.
So it's basically bringing it back around to that. So it kind of makes sense in the sense that it doesn't make sense, if that makes sense. They took some elements that they had already shown previously and showed them again. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's a really good way of describing the entire movie, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it is, but nothing. Are they dead? Like I had this inkling that maybe this was the afterlife. Like,
So
and that's
sorry.
yeah. No, go ahead. What were you gonna
I
say?
was going to say, do you have any more cons? Because then I can get into mine, which will answer some of your questions.
Oh, what other cons did I have? I think all my cons have all just been questions.
Okay.
So yeah, go ahead and answer my questions that involve the cons
Okay. It
for
won't
me.
answer them right away, and it'll never fully answer it because the director is a psychopath. But here's my list. So the main one is it's simply painful to watch. Both main characters, but especially Lucy, they're just very pretentious and annoying the whole time. And really early on, you get the impression that Lucy just likes hearing herself talk. I think she just thinks she's so intellectual that everything she says is brilliant. And that's really annoying for me. I don't know, I didn't like her. Then the multiple long ass car scenes with the boring dialogue. It's a movie for entertainment, so we shouldn't need to literally take the hour car trip with them. Or if you're going to do that, then at least make it interesting, you know? It
Hmm.
shouldn't be painful. Like, that's my main thing. So, also, the movie is so freaking long. I think it would have benefited from being maybe like 60 minutes. And
Yeah.
if it was based around that dinner scene and then they kind of explained the questions that we have, made it obvious what was going on, I think it would have been a good short film because I enjoyed that scene a lot. But 2 hours and 15 minutes is way too long for what that was. Okay, my other one, he doesn't answer any questions, like you were saying. So the whole movie, you're watching it in confusion, and it keeps you going only because you want a resolution, some
Hmm.
semblance of answers to your questions, but it just never happens. Oh, I also would like to know a ballpark of how many times I checked to see if the movie was almost over. Did you do that too?
Yeah. I was eyeing the watch like it was a gold brick.
Yeah,
Mm.
I kept checking, scrolling, and seeing like how many minutes were left, and I kept being disappointed by the answer. And I think I checked like 45 times, no joke. It literally felt the length of all three Lord of the Rings films in succession to me. It was never ending. So at the end of the movie, the only thing I could gather was that the man was crazy, and I think Jake was most likely the janitor. But having the real actor, Jake, basically at the end with the rest of the cast in the fake old aged makeup made me question whether or not he was a janitor because it just didn't seem to make any sense. So I had to go online and look up the director's Q&A, and that's how I found out that Lucy only existed in his mind. And in the director's own words, he said he was going for a Psycho meets Fight Club scenario, which he failed miserably on all levels, as those movies are amazing and this was a trash heap. So,
Oh.
also, according to him, it's based off of a novel and has a lot of references to Oklahoma. And he said the ending scene, where Jake is on the stage, is actually a speech taken verbatim from A Beautiful Mind. So,
Wow.
yeah, so he just took other stories and scrambled them together. which is exactly how it feels. So,
Yeah.
so you can find the Q&A on IndieWire.com to get some of the answers that, he forgot to include in the film. And and a guy named Jeff in the comments said something almost exactly how I was feeling. So I'm going to just go ahead and actually read his comment if you're cool with that.
Yes.
Okay. So here's what he has to say. Ultimately disappointing. I love the acting, the dialogue, the cinematography, the tension between the characters, the scenes with the dancers, the weird Tulsi Town scene, the parents repeatedly changing age. So he liked it much better than we did. He said, but I finished the film not understanding what I had watched. I suspected that Jake and the janitor were somehow the same person, but I certainly never figured out that Lucy was Jake's fantasy. The closet, oh, I'm sorry, the closet. The closest I came was when Lucy finds her poem and her paintings in Jake's childhood bedroom. That was followed by some talk about stealing someone else's soul, which threw me off on a different idea that didn't really get followed up. Then the Tulsi Town scene where the waitress warned her not to go forward in time. What was that all about? And the car engine turning over during the credits? Huh? Now I read this article and find out that Lucy is Jake's fantasy, but that Kaufman, which is the director, made the character more of a real person than in the novel, making the viewer invested in her more than in Jake and making it hard for the viewer to detect the fantasy connection. What the hell? Ultimately, this leads me to agree with Christopher, which was another commenter, which he said, the very fact that you need an article to explain a movie proves that it isn't a good movie. A better movie would have planted the pieces of the puzzle in my mind and led me through a series of intriguing revelations to the satisfaction of an epiphany that tied everything together, not left me scratching my head and desperately Googling, I'm thinking of ending things analysis. So I think he worded that pretty well because that's how I felt too.
Yeah, I had suspect the parents were changing age, you know, and but I wasn't quite sure of that either. It was very bizarre.
Yeah, they had her like the normal, well, like she was kind of old to begin with, and then they had her like ancient, and then they had her dying in a bed, and then they had her super young.
I thought that was other people, maybe like her mom or something.
Oh, did you?
But
That's hilarious. I mean, the movie was so bizarre and so much random stuff, so it's not really surprising. But I love that actress, Toni Collette. So,
hmm
and the guy, I like him a lot too. He's in Braveheart and some other movies. I believe he's in Braveheart. It's been a while since I saw that, but I really like those actors. So I knew it was them. But maybe if I didn't, I might have questioned. But because I recognize them so well, I didn't. But I can see how you could.
yeah, I don't know. I felt like the movie was making me go a little crazy.
Yeah.
It really does. Like it messes with your head. It doesn't explain anything, so you're kind of I don't know. It's very easy to get lost and think that maybe you're seeing things.
Yeah, I definitely know what you mean. And actually, this reminds me of that movie I saw with, damn. Go ahead and get into your pros, and I'm going to look this up.
Yeah, my pros, I did not have any. The dancing, like I said, that was they seemed like they were really doing a good job, dancing. So, snow was realistic. I wonder where that was filmed, if they used real snow or not. I'm not sure. But grasping for pros.
10-10 for the snow and dancing.
I like the dog. The dog was cute. The border collie.
Yeah, even that was weird, though, because he kept shaking his head like he was in a horror film or something. Did you notice that?
I just thought he was shaking his head because he felt wet, maybe from the snow.
That was the case it seemed initially, but remember when he was by the door later on? All he was doing was shake. I don't know. Maybe I'm just reading into
Could
it.
have been, yeah, fleas maybe or something. I'm not sure. That was odd. And I like when she asked about the scratches on the door, and he said they're mainly from the dog. I thought that it was going to be like a kidnapper movie. Like, the scratches might have been from someone they were holding captive.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had a creepy vibe. Don't go through that door. Don't go down to the basement. I just felt always on edge, like a horror movie. Only it wasn't supposed to be horror.
Yeah. I think it had a lot of potential in that way because, like you're saying, for me, that whole farm scene, like if you cut the whole long ass drive to get there, keep maybe a reasonable amount, like 5 or 10 minutes at max of that scene,
hmm
and then have the farm and everything that happens there, and then a short drive afterwards, and then explain everything well. You know what I mean? Then I think it would have been a good movie, or at least not terrible. But they didn't do that.
And if she's supposed to be a figment of his imagination, I could have sworn there was a time when she was driving and he was asleep. so I don't know how the car was moving if she's not real and he's asleep. But maybe I'm not remembering correctly. Maybe she's never driving.
I think you're right, because I did think that too at one point. So either we're both crazy or that really did happen. But the fact that he said it's like a Psycho meets Fight Club movie. In Psycho, if you remember, what's his name? Shit.
Norman Bates.
Yeah, Norman Bates thinks he's his mom at the end, remember? So he switches between them. So
Yeah.
sometimes he is her. So it's that type of thing. We probably did see that, is my guess. And he was just doing the whole Psycho thing.
Yeah, that would explain it then.
Okay, and I did find it. So the movie I
Oh,
was
good.
referring to was Mother with Jennifer Lawrence. You hadn't seen that, but I saw it pretty recently, and I'm so torn on this movie. Like, I really did like it, and it reminds me actually of what we just saw, but it's done way better. I liked Mother. This one I didn't like. So, but anyway, I just thought I would say that it's a similar film. So actually, I'd be curious to see what you think about it if you watch it.
Yeah, I'll have to watch Mother. I've heard of it.
Yeah, and unlike this one, I think that one's worth watching, even though it's really stressful. I will say that from the beginning to the end, it's very stressful. At least for me, it was a high tension movie, but it was interesting and it actually does make sense at the end. So I did like it. Do you have any more pros before I go into mine?
No.
Okay. My pros are slim anyway, but the dinner scene, as I mentioned, was excellent. It was awkward and interesting and well done. And I really liked when he had just told her that his dad found their pigs being eaten alive by maggots. And then they go to dinner with the parents, and there's this giant cooked ham on the table. And the mother's like, yeah, all the food is from the farm. It was funny because it was super unsettling. And she doesn't want to not eat the ham because she's a guest and, you know, it's the main course. So I just thought that was funny. And then obviously Toni Collette, she's really the reason I watched this movie. I was scrolling through and I saw that she was in this and I love her. And she did really great in it. I think the problem with this movie is the writing, not the acting.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with the actors. I don't know like what they did sometimes. That's not their fault. They were doing what they were told.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. Even with Lucy being annoying to me, it wasn't the actress. It was that they made her character pretentious, and I don't know. I just not great.
yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Hopefully there won't be a sequel to this.
Or if there is, we won't watch it, so it won't affect our lives at least. And then this isn't a pro, it's just kind of a note, in my opinion. I think maybe the whole thing would have worked better as a play instead, with the ballet scene, if the whole movie had been like that, or they're like stabbing each other and all that craziness, but it's done as if it's a play.
Yeah.
I think it would have benefited from something like that, because plays are mostly dialogue, which is what this was. It was purely terrible dialogue. So if you're going to do that, at least do it in the right atmosphere, which is a play. So I just thought that was something to mention.
Yeah. I even thought the janitor was going to be God at one point. So, like, I don't know.
You know, it was so boring and took us so many random ass places that it makes us want a resolution so bad that we start coming up with crazy scenarios to try to end it.
Yeah, that's what our brains do, kind of, is when we get confused, we want to make sense of everything. That's kind of why you see faces and stuff, where there are no faces, like seeing a face in the moon or something. I think with this movie, we wanted it to, like, logically make sense, because most movies do. So we're like, surely we're misunderstanding, and you keep formulating hypotheses, like the janitor's God, and this is all the afterlife, or they all escape from a mental institution, or something, you know, that would explain what they're saying and doing. So,
yeah. What I thought was that, because remember during the dinner scene, it kind of zoomed back and she's by herself. And then actually after eating and everything, like I think it was dessert or something, they actually really were all gone. So it was like, did she kill everyone and she's just kind of in this house losing her mind? Which obviously didn't happen, but I had that thought. And then I also thought it was just all a dream. Because it was all very dreamlike. It's almost like he had this shitty dream after a book club and then just wrote it out. You know what I mean? That's how it felt to me.
I think the dog deserves an Academy Award. It was the only thing in the movie that held true. Dogs shake their heads.
They do.
And it shook it well. So, bravo.
Yay.
And there was no animal abuse. There's also no plot.
There was just talk of it. No, I'm kidding. It wasn't actually animal abuse, just the maggot pig thing and dead sheep.
So I guess you can't have a plot without animal abuse, apparently. You lose the animal, you lose the plot. So
yeah, but 5 kernels for that dog, like you say.
Yes. The dog brought it home. Homeward bound. You know?
uh, but anywho. All right, well, hopefully the next movie that you pick will be good, as I picked
Yeah,
a shitty.
no, it wasn't your fault. We try to pick unusual films from time to time as a nice surprise, but it's, you never know what you're gonna get. That's part of the excitement. So yeah, I'll pick a new one. And we didn't like the movie, but if you want something to bore you and make your brain try to figure out reality for a couple hours, then you can give this
Yeah.
a shot.
Or you can skip to that dinner scene, which is actually really good, and then just turn it off.
Yeah, you could do that. See you next time, some travelers. That's a wrap.